Opening in 2018 to scathing reviews, Fast and Furious Supercharged at Universal Studios Florida is set to close briefly for an upcoming refurbishment. Rumor has it Universal Orlando came up with a plan to supposedly fix the ride, and they could implement some changes when it reopens next month. But will it be enough? Or will it continue to be one of the most disappointing new attractions from a company that has been debuting some of their best work as of late? Fast and Furious Supercharged at Universal Studios Florida is closing next month for a planned refurbishment. While no details have been released on what exactly will be done, there have been rumors that the company has a plan to quote-unquote fix the attraction. The refurbishment is going to be brief, but that could help explain why they will not be closing Shrek 4D, which is going away for good, until January 10th. Plus, Revenge of the Mummy will be closing for an extended refurbishment of its own starting January 7th. That's not going to give them much time to somehow fix Supercharged, which sounds like a tall order. The ride itself was an expanded version of the 360 segment from Universal Hollywood's Tram Tour. While Hollywood's version opened to mixed reviews, it was at least only a small part of a much larger attraction. Orlando's version was set up as its own standalone ride, where guests would queue up to ride Supercharged and Supercharged alone. Universal Orlando did add some new elements to it, much like they did when they transformed the Hollywood Tram Tour's Kong 360 segment into Skull Island Reign of Kong for Islands of Adventure. But while Kong added new scenes and some animatronics, Supercharged used the extra scenes it added to better flesh out the Tram Tour's pre-show elements, while also adding 2 more pre-shows before you even get on the ride. Fast and Furious Supercharged was also announced to open at Universal Studios Beijing, but after poor reception from the guests in Orlando, Beijing wisely decided to cut Supercharged from the new park's plans. Before the pandemic, there were rumors that Universal Orlando was exploring ways to fix their version of Supercharged. Different concepts have been floating around the internet for a couple years. One rumored concept was to change the ride into a night bus themed attraction and connect it to the Wizarding World area next door. That concept would be able to keep the ride system and the layout intact at least, but with a new Potter attraction now rumored to be taking over the Fear Factor live spot, I doubt they would also expand the area in this direction as well. Plus, this refurbishment time period is going to be far too short for any major changes to the ride's overall theme. Instead, I suspect most of this update will be focused on the main 360 segment itself. Another rumor we had heard was that the attraction could somehow be tied into the recent Hobbs and Shaw film, which did see success at the box office. I have a feeling that any changes to the main section of the ride might be done in a way so as to not have to change any of the queue or pre-shows though, so not so sure this rumor is correct. I think the first thing that could be done to improve the ride, without tearing it down and starting over that is, would be to improve the main section's graphics. The look of the main film has been one of the biggest complaints so far. Perhaps the reason this refurbishment was delayed was so that they could film the actors again for new ride footage. That would explain why they didn't just perform these upgrades last year when the attraction was closed temporarily while the parks reopened with less capacity. Filming the actors again, and maybe tweaking the story, or even including more characters, could also be a way to tie the attraction to the later films in the franchise. In my opinion though, one way to make the ride better is to increase the length of the main film section. While the ride features a similar setup to the Skull Island ride at the park next door, the scenes leading up to the main part of Kong feel as though they were just as much a part of the ride as the 360 segment at the end. There is action, a few animatronics, and the first half of the story. On Supercharged, all of the earlier segments of the ride are just exposition and feel more like additional pre-shows before the main event. We watch Hobbs on a screen in a never-ending dark tunnel, We see the main characters introduce us to the story in a Musion scene, and then by the time we get to what we think is the ride, it's over in a flash. It doesn't help that the first couple scenes are just reiterating the exact same beats that we were told in the pre-shows that we experienced on foot before boarding the party bus in the first place. Expanding the 360 sequence, perhaps even adding additional locations besides a garage and driving down a single street, would help make it feel like a full story. Every time I ride Supercharged with people riding for the first time, they always say the exact same thing after it's over. Is that it? A new, more polished 360 film, along with new motion profile for the vehicles, could go a long way into making this attraction more palatable. Like when Disney had to add Figment back into Imagination within a year of opening the second version, after a deluge of complaints. This ride could at very least use a band-aid of its own. And one more thing that I would do, personally, is consider bringing back the 3D. The original Supercharged is presented in 3D on the Hollywood Tram Tour, same as Kong 360. And yet, it appears that the 3D element was removed from Orlando's version at the last minute. You can still spot themed signs warning you in the queue to use protective eyewear near where the glasses distribution area would be. The fact that they actually built, at least what I assume, are 3D glasses distribution areas tells you how far it made it into development. The park removed 3D from its Minions ride soon after as well. I'm sure they don't want people to think of Universal Studios Florida as just the 3D park, but I'm afraid complaints from guests may have more to do with screen and simulator fatigue than just 3D glasses themselves. The removal of 3D from rides that were designed to use it has detrimental effects on how they're viewed. Objects that are meant to look as though they're right in front of your face now simply appear 2 stories tall. Without the depth of field that the 2-projector 3D effect creates, the illusion is lost, and well, Vin Diesel looks 20 feet tall. The 360 segment doesn't feel like we're driving down the road without 3D, so much as it feels like we're in a long screen tunnel. This isn't like the dome screens of Back to the Future or The Simpsons, where the screen was designed for viewing without 3D glasses. This ride was developed for 3D, and I would love to see it used as intended. But that's just my take on it. Redoing the main section of the ride in any way may increase its enjoyment, and I'll take what I can get. I'm sure many fans will still be disappointed that a Fast and Furious themed attraction doesn't actually go fast, but short of gutting the building and starting over, I just don't think a short refurbishment is going to solve all of its problems. Who knows, maybe after Revenge of the Mummy is done with its long refurbishment next year, Supercharged can close for an extended closure of its own, so they can really get in there and switch things up. What do you think? Do you think that this ride can be saved at all? Or do you actually enjoy Fast and Furious Supercharged as it is now? Let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe to never miss an update. If you like the channel, consider joining our Patreon for behind-the-scenes posts and early content. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Want to join our family? Let's ride.